You probably believe that in the 21st century, the age of true exploration is dead. You can open your laptop, launch Google Earth, and within seconds you are hovering over the summit of Everest, tracing the ridges of K2, or inspecting the ice sheets of Antarctica. It feels like the entire planet has been mapped, cataloged, and conquered. We live under the illusion that visibility equals accessibility, that if we can see it on a screen, we can touch it. But the data suggests something far more unsettling. There are voids on the map, places where the satellite imagery blurs into white noise, and where human footprints have never broken the snow. These aren't just difficult climbs, they are geographic fortresses protected by politics, spirits, or sheer vertical insanity. What you see on your screen is a lie of accessibility. There are coordinates where the pixelated silence hides a lethal reality. Let me show you the peaks that refuse to be conquered. You're watching Unclimbed Earth, where the map ends and the mystery begins. If you value this depth of exploration into the planet's last frontiers, subscribing ensures you don't miss the next expedition into the unknown. When you spin the digital globe to the border between Bhutan and Tibet, your cursor might land on a massive, jagged white expanse. The coordinates read 28 degrees north, 90 degrees east. From the satellite view, it looks like just another ridge in the Himalayas, perhaps slightly more prominent than its neighbors. But zoom in closer. This is Gangkhar Puensum. At 24,836 feet, it holds a title that seems impossible in our modern era. It is the highest unclimbed mountain in the world. But the reason no one stands on its summit isn't just about the steepness of the rock or the ferocity of the wind. It is about a barrier far stronger than ice. In the world of high-altitude mountaineering, obstacles are usually physical. You calculate oxygen levels, weather windows, and caloric burn. But Gangkhar Puensum is protected by the law of the sacred. To the locals, these high peaks are the citadels of the gods, and human intrusion is a spiritual violation. For a brief window in the 1980s, Bhutan opened its doors to mountaineers, allowing a handful of expeditions to attempt the climb. They failed, not because of the spirits, but because the mountain itself seemed to shift on the map. The geography was so poorly charted that the first team couldn't even find the mountain. When they finally located the correct ridge, the weather turned catastrophic. It was as if the mountain was rejecting them. By 1994, the government of Bhutan realized that some places are not meant for human ego. They banned climbing on mountains higher than 6,000 meters, and in 2003, mountaineering was forbidden entirely. Gangkhar Puensum is now legally untouchable. When you look at it on Google Earth, you are looking at a ghost, a place that exists physically but has been deleted from the realm of human ambition. The satellite image is the closest you will ever get. The resolution on your screen is sharp, showing the knife-edge ridges and the deep blue crevasses. But that clarity is deceptive. It masks the reality that this is a sanctuary. In a world where we monetize every view and conquer every height, Gangkhar Puensum stands as a silent reminder that some things remain sacred, forbidden, and utterly out of reach. If you drag your view 3,000 miles west, crossing the breadth of the Himalayas into the jagged heart of the Karakoram Range in Pakistan, the narrative changes. Here, there are no spiritual bans. There are no laws stopping you from climbing. The government will happily sell you a permit. Yet the result is the same. Locate the Batura Muztagh subrange. Zoom in on a sheer wall of rock and ice rising to 24,449 feet. This is Muchu Chish. Unlike the sacred peak in Bhutan, Muchu Chish is technically legal to climb. It is accessible, and yet it remains one of the most hostile environments on the planet. The problem here is geomorphological. Muchu Chish is not just a mountain, it is a fortress of instability. The approach involves traversing a labyrinth of glaciers that are constantly shifting, creating a minefield of crevasses that can swallow a team whole. But the real terror begins when you reach the face. The main ridge is a razor-sharp spine of ice that offers no bivouac spots, no place to pitch a tent, no place to rest, no place to melt snow for water. You have to keep moving in the death zone, where the human body begins to consume itself for energy. Recent attempts have been made, most notably by a Czech team in the last few years. They possessed modern gear, satellite weather tracking, and decades of experience. They were beaten back not by a single storm, but by the sheer relentless nature of the terrain. The The snow on Machu Picchu is often unconsolidated, sugar snow that offers no purchase for an ice axe. You take one step up and slide 2 steps back, all while hanging over a 6,000-foot void. On Google Earth, the south face looks like a smooth white ramp. In reality, it is a vertical nightmare of avalanches that thunder down the slopes with the regularity of a heartbeat. It is the highest unclimbed peak where climbing is actually allowed, making it a taunting prize for the world's elite alpinists. It sits there, visible, permitted, and deadly, daring anyone to try again. Now, pull out from the Karakoram, spin the globe south, keep spinning until the continents disappear and you are staring at the white cap of the world, Antarctica. The most hostile continent on Earth is home to mountains that make Everest look like a tourist trap simply because of their isolation. Zoom in on the Marie Byrd Land coast. You will see a solitary island locked in sea ice. Rising from the center of this frozen desolation is a shield volcano named Mount Sipil. Mount Sipil is an enigma. At over 10,000 feet, it dominates the skyline of the Getz ice shelf, yet it exists in a blind spot of history. We don't have clear records of anyone standing on its summit. There are rumors, vague reports of landings, but no concrete verification. It is a mountain that might be unclimbed, or it might have been visited by a ghost expedition that left no trace. The terror of Mount Sipil isn't the technical difficulty of the climb. It's a volcano, a slope, not a wall. The terror is the location. To reach Mount Sipil, you have to cross the Southern Ocean, the roughest stretch of water on the planet, and then navigate the pack ice that guards the coast like a frozen armada. If you get into trouble here, there is no rescue. There is no helicopter coming from Kathmandu. There is no base camp with hot tea. You are off the edge of the map. On Google Earth, Mount Sipil appears as a perfect white cone, serene and beautiful, but the satellite image captures a landscape frozen in a permanent scream of wind. The katabatic winds here can reach speeds that strip flesh from bone. It is a place of absolute solitude. These mountains, Gangkhar Punsam, Machu Picchu, Mount Sipil, they challenge our modern arrogance. We assume that because we have mapped the world, we own it. We assume that because we can see the coordinates on a screen, we understand the terrain. But the map is not the territory. The pixels on your monitor cannot convey the biting cold, the lack of oxygen, or the crushing weight of silence in these places. They remain the last true wildernesses, the final reminders that the Earth is not entirely ours. And as we continue to scan the satellite imagery for new routes, we have to ask ourselves, are we looking for adventure, or are we looking for a way to break the last few things that remain wild? The journey doesn't end here. As we move from the frozen south back to the dense jungles of the equator, we find that the most dangerous mountains aren't always the ones covered in snow. Some are hidden by the canopy, guarded by isolation so profound that even the satellites struggle to see through the green.
In the deep tropics, the challenge shifts from the preservation of cold to the rapid decay of heat. Here, the enemy is not the wind, but the biology itself. In the remote highlands of Papua New Guinea, specifically the Star Mountains near the Indonesian border, the terrain is so hostile that local folklore suggests spirits guard the peaks to keep humans away. This is the Hindenburg Wall, a limestone barrier rising thousands of feet out of a jungle so dense that sunlight barely touches the forest floor. Unlike the Himalayas, where the path is visible but physically demanding, the approach here is a psychological labyrinth. The rock is razor-sharp karst, brittle and unstable, hidden beneath layers of moss that can swallow a climber up to their waist. You aren't just fighting gravity, you are fighting a landscape that is actively dissolving beneath your boots. Satellite imagery of this region is often obscured by perpetual cloud cover, a white noise that frustrates digital explorers. When the clouds do break, Google Earth reveals a jagged spine of green and gray, a place where the map data is notoriously unreliable. Expeditions here don't measure progress in vertical meters gained, but in horizontal kilometers survived. The humidity rots equipment, infections set in within hours, and the sheer density of the vegetation means that a team can be 50 meters from a massive cliff face and never see it until they are staring into the abyss. It is a green hell in the truest sense, a place where the mountain defends itself with isolation and biological warfare rather than just altitude. Moving across the globe to the Guiana Shield in South America, we encounter a different kind of inaccessibility, the tepuis. These are the House of the Gods in the indigenous Paimon language, flat-top table mountains that are essentially islands in the sky, separated from the rainforest floor by sheer vertical cliffs dropping thousands of feet. While Mount Roraima is well documented, hundreds of other tepuis remain virtually untouched. Consider Cerro Autana. It is not the highest, but it is a geological fortress. It pierces the canopy like a tree stump made of quartzite, completely isolated.
The summit of a tepui like Autana is an evolutionary time capsule. Because they have been cut off from the jungle below for millions of years, the flora and fauna on top have evolved in complete isolation. To reach the top is to step onto an alien planet. The walls are often overhanging, making a traditional ascent nearly impossible without siege tactics and heavy drilling, which destroys the very pristine nature of the rock. Helicopters are an option, but the weather systems here are violent and unpredictable, often generating their own turbulence that can swat aircraft out of the sky. Google Earth shows us these flat tops, tempting us with their plateau-like appearance, but it cannot show the labyrinth of sinkholes and deep fissures that crisscross the summit. Some of these sinkholes, like those on Sari Nyama, are massive, forest-filled collapses hundreds of meters deep, ecosystems within ecosystems that no human has ever entered. Uncovering these locations requires sifting through decades of survey data, obscure geological reports, and forgotten expedition logs. If you want to see us continue charting the unmapped world and bringing these forgotten coordinates to light, subscribing to the channel ensures you won't miss the next deep dive into the unknown. While the tepuis and the Star Mountains are guarded by geography, there is another category of inaccessible peak, the mountain that is forbidden by law. In the Annapurna Himalayas of Nepal stands Macha Puchare, the fishtail. At 6,993 meters, it is not the highest peak in the range, but it is arguably the most striking, a sheer double pyramid of rock and ice that dominates the skyline. But you will not find a route map for Macha Puchare on any climbing forum. You will not find recent GoPro footage from the summit. It is officially unclimbed, and the government of Nepal has banned all attempts to reach the top. The mountain is considered sacred to the god Shiva, and unlike other peaks where commercialism has slowly eroded spiritual reverence, Macha Puchare has held its ground. The ban is strictly enforced. The only known attempt that came close was in 1957 by a British team led by Jimmy Roberts. They climbed to within 50 meters of the summit but turned back, honoring a promise they made to the King of Nepal not to set foot on the actual peak. Since then, the mountain has remained pristine. In an age where Everest has become a high-altitude queue of tourists, Macha Puchare stands as a silent rebuke, a reminder that there are still places where human ambition must yield to respect. When you zoom in on Google Earth, you can see the sharp ridges and the terrifying steepness of the faces, but the summit itself remains a blank spot in human experience, a coordinate that we are allowed to see but never touch.
Leaving the sacred heights of Asia, we turn our eyes to the bottom of the world, to a place that combines the violence of the ocean with the freezing hostility of the Antarctic. Heard Island is an Australian external territory located in the southern Indian Ocean, about 4,000 kilometers from Perth and even further from Africa. It is one of the most remote places on Earth. Dominating the island is Big Ben, an active volcano whose summit, Mawson Peak, rises 2,745 meters out of the churning sea. Reaching the base of this mountain is an expedition in itself that rivals a moon landing in complexity. There is no airstrip, there is no harbor. To get there, you must sail for weeks through the furious 50s, a belt of ocean where the winds circle the globe unimpeded by land, generating waves the size of office buildings. Most ships that attempt the journey are forced to turn back before they even spot land. If you manage to make landfall, you are greeted by glaciers that flow directly into the sea and weather that is statistically some of the worst on the planet. Big Ben is almost always shrouded in storm clouds. Satellite imagery of Heard Island is frequently a wash of white pixels, a digital ghost. The few climbers who have stood on the summit describe a place of absolute fury, where the wind screams constantly and the ground shakes from the volcanic activity beneath. It is a mountain of fire and ice, sitting alone at the edge of the world. The isolation is total.
If something goes wrong on Everest, a helicopter might reach you. If something goes wrong on Big Ben, help is weeks away, if it can come at all. This is the terrifying reality of the sub-Antarctic peaks. They are not just hard to climb, they are hard to even exist near. The sheer logistics of reaching them filter out 99% of the world's adventurers, leaving only those willing to risk everything for a glimpse of a burning mountain surrounded by a freezing ocean. As we analyze these locations, a pattern emerges. The most impossible mountains aren't always the tallest. Elevation is just a number. True inaccessibility is a formula combining terrain, weather, politics, and isolation. But there is one final frontier we haven't touched yet. We have looked at the jungles, the sacred grounds, and the frozen oceans. Now we must look at the mountains that shouldn't exist at all. Geological anomalies that defy our understanding of how the Earth is formed. Places where the rock itself seems to have been designed to repel us. These are the spires of the Karakoram and the hidden ranges of the high Arctic, where the geometry of the cliffs defeat even the most advanced climbing technology.
Consider the Trango Towers in Pakistan. When viewed from a satellite perspective, looking straight down, they appear as mere clusters of gray pixels, indistinguishable from the surrounding debris of the Baltoro Glacier. The digital map flattens them, hiding their true nature. But shift the perspective to the ground, and you are confronted with the most terrifying verticality on the planet. These are not mountains in the traditional sense of slopes and summits. They are monoliths. The Great Trango Tower rises nearly vertically for over a kilometer. It is a geological exclamation point, a sheer wall of granite so smooth and so steep that snow cannot cling to it. It stands naked against the jet stream, a vertical desert where the only way up is to suspend yourself over a void that stretches down to the glacier floor thousands of feet below. This is where the geometry of the Earth turns hostile. In the high Arctic, on Baffin Island, we find a similar anomaly, Mount Thor. It holds the record for the greatest purely vertical drop on Earth. The cliff face is not just vertical, it is actually overhanging, angling inwards at 105 degrees. If you were to drop a stone from the summit, it wouldn't touch the wall once before hitting the ice 4,101 feet below. On Google Earth, Mount Thor is a shadow cast across a frozen valley. In reality, it is a fortress of nice rock that defies gravity. The silence here is absolute, broken only by the cracking of the ice sheet and the wind howling through the fjord. To stand at the base of Thor is to feel the crushing weight of geological time, realizing that this structure has resisted erosion for eons, remaining a sharp, impossible edge in a world that usually grinds mountains to dust. But the true definition of impossible is found when we combine this vertical geometry with the death zone altitude of the Himalayas. We must turn our attention to the shining wall of Gasherbrum 4. While it is the 17th highest mountain on Earth, lacking the fame of Everest or K2, it is widely considered one of the most beautiful and difficult mountains in existence. The west face is a mirror of pale marble and limestone, rising 2,500 meters from the glacier. It glows in the sunset, a beacon that has lured the world's best alpinists to their deaths. The wall is a vertical maze of loose rock and technical climbing at an altitude where human life is biologically unsustainable.
The reason Gasherbrum 4 remains a ghost on the climbing circuit is not just the difficulty, it is the commitment. Once you start up the shining wall, there is no easy retreat. A storm at that altitude traps you on a vertical face with nowhere to set a tent, nowhere to melt water, and no way for a helicopter to reach you. It is a trap made of beauty. Google Earth allows us to zoom in on the summit ridge to trace the lines of the rock, but it cannot convey the screaming wind or the hypoxia that clouds the mind of anyone foolish enough to attempt it. It captures the image, but it filters out the suffering. If you find yourself drawn to these stories of the Earth's most hostile edges and want to support our ongoing documentation of these forgotten frontiers, subscribing ensures you are present for the next expedition into the unknown. We are only scratching the surface of what the satellite maps hide. Beyond the granite spires and the high-altitude walls, there is a final category of the impossible, the islands that shouldn't exist. In the Tasman Sea, rising like a jagged shard of flat glass from the ocean, lies Ball's Pyramid. It is the remnant of a shield volcano that collapsed 7 million years ago, leaving only this solitary stock of rock. It is taller than the Empire State Building, but sits on a footprint so small it looks unstable, as if a rogue wave could topple it. For decades, it was considered unclimbable, surrounded by shark-infested waters and guarded by a swell that makes landing a boat nearly suicidal. Ball's Pyramid is a biological time capsule. It is so isolated that it harbored a species of stick insect thought to be extinct for 80 years, living precariously on a single bush on a precarious ledge hundreds of feet above the churning ocean. This is the paradox of these impossible places. They are hostile to human life, yet they are often the last refuge for the ancient world. They are pockets of resistance against the Anthropocene. When we look at Ball's Pyramid on a map, we see a speck of land in a vast blue void, but that speck is a fortress. It reminds us that while we have mapped the entire surface of our planet, we have not conquered it. This brings us to the ultimate realization about our digital exploration. Tools like Google Earth have given us a godlike perspective. We can fly over the Amazon, inspect the crevices of the Antarctic, and hover above the summit of K2, all within a few seconds. We have achieved a level of omniscience that explorers of the past would have considered sorcery. But this digital access creates a dangerous illusion. It makes the world feel small. It makes the impossible look accessible. When you can scroll across the Taklamakan Desert with a flick of your finger, you lose the sense of scale that defines the reality of the terrain.
The mountains we have analyzed today, from the sacred, forbidden peaks of Bhutan to the vertical nightmares of the Arctic and the Karakoram, serve as a necessary corrective to that illusion. They are the physical reality checking our digital arrogance. They remind us that a map is not the territory. A satellite image of Gangkhar Punsam does not carry the weight of the spiritual laws protecting it. A 3D render of the north face of Janu does not convey the terror of rockfall. These places retain their mystery because they retain their danger. They demand a price for entry that modern technology cannot pay. In the end, the most impossible mountains to reach are not just geographical coordinates. They are psychological thresholds. They are the places where the logistics of travel, the limits of human physiology, and the laws of physics intersect to create a do not enter sign that nature enforces with lethal efficiency. And perhaps that is a good thing. In a world where every square inch is cataloged, tagged, and uploaded, we need these blank spots. We need the unclimbed earth. We need to know that there are still fortresses of rock and ice that stand apart, indifferent to our curiosity, guarding their secrets in the silence of the clouds. These are the places where the map ends and the true planet begins.